Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And with me in this episode, I have someone who shares over 2 decades of expertise in unlocking human potential. He also has a new book out called Win Peace: How to End Inner Conflicts and Make Success Inevitable. Ryan Christensen, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you here. Yeah, well, obviously, mindset and everything else. I mean, I deal more with resilience and general life coaching, that kind of thing. But obviously, people do have these inner battles with themselves, don't they? Really, and beat themselves up and stuff like that. You know, so as an ex-firefighter and firefighter and athlete, you know, obviously, you know, you do get that even with professions and professionals as well. So
yeah,
but with the title of your book, Win Peace, which everyone wants peace, really. Why did it? What got you round to writing this book?
Wow, it was quite the journey for me, actually. Turns out that I have autism, but I wasn't diagnosed until like last year when I was almost 48 years old.
Oh wow!
So I spent most of my life in a position. Yeah.
I got diagnosed.
Most of my life in a position where I could.
Yeah, I got diagnosed
with
dyslexia, but obviously autism's more of a spectrum than when I was 40 years old as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry.
It's hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely grew up in a space where like the world just worked for everybody else and not for me, and so had to kind of find a reason to keep on going. And that was like, go ahead and serve the country, serve the world. And that was kind of my way to keep going. But by the time I was in my mid 40s, that stopped working for me, right? The world rather stubbornly does not want to be saved. So I had to move on. And that's how I became a hypnotist. And all this work I was doing on myself to kind of like, get all this stuff taken care of and get my mind sorted out so I could actually live life the way I needed to kind of led me down this road. Tried out all these different modalities. Nothing really worked the way it was supposed to. So I kind of had to build my own model. And along the way, I learned a lot about how the mind works that isn't necessarily the way people think it is. And so that led me to write the book, Win Peace, to kind of get some of these ideas out there, give people some different tools and different frameworks that can help speed up that healing process, get that in your mind actually unified as a team to calm down that inner conflict, as well as to give you, like you talk about, that heavy mental resilience so you can keep going through all these different adversities in life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's certainly, you know, that's what people are looking for. It does seem to be, I wouldn't say contradictory, but when I was looking through, you know, some of the kind of concepts of the book, you know, I was thinking to myself, hang on a minute, but, you know, people are teaching people not to think negatively and things like that. But you're actually saying that's, you know, it is a good thing. Yeah. So there's a self-help industry saying it's a bad thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, because... You know, don't get me wrong, because there are conflicts with various different self-help techniques, isn't there? So some saying some things are good and bad.
Well, it's very much a situation where the core belief that a lot of people have, the common narrative is like, oh, emotions are pain. Negative emotions are painful, right? And it kind of comes like it's the most natural conclusion to get in the world because you're a baby. You've only got one way to getting help, no matter what kind of distress you're under, whether it's like physical or, you know, emotional, or you're just lonely or cold or whatever it happens to be. All you can do is cry. And everybody responds the same way. So you start out with this kind of concept that all distress is the same. And then everybody's talking about like hurt feelings and having your heart broken. So it's kind of reinforced, right? So we start out with this heavy concept that emotions are pain. And if you're going through a lot of negative emotion, a lot of heavy negative emotion when you're young, you can't really escape it because you don't really have any control of your environment. That gets kind of cranked up to the max. And once you do that, now your survival centers in your brain have to start treating your emotional state as a threat to your physical survival. In a lot of ways, it really can be. You know, you talk about deaths of despair, like over 300,000 people died in the U.S. last year from deaths of despair. You know, emotions can actually end your life in a lot of ways. So when you're in that situation, the most natural thing to do is to want to get away from that pain, to push it away, avoid it in every single way you can. And that's where most of the self-help industry is. Like, let me go and find ways to damp this down, to avoid it, to push it away, all that kind of stuff. What I realized was emotions aren't actually pain. They're not actually like physical pain. Physical pain says my hand hurts, you're supposed to look here, this is busted. But all these physical sensations we feel when we feel these emotions are just our body either preparing to take action of some kind, like we're afraid, so we're getting ready to run, right? We have that freeze response when we're supposed to hide. That's just your body preparing to take that action, or it's just processing something. When you're going through grief and your body's heaving and sighing, or crying and so forth and so on, that physical pain you feel is because your lungs are freaking, your chest is not designed to do that on a regular basis, right? But if that's your body doing exactly what it's supposed to do, nothing's broken. Everything's working as intended, functioning exactly as designed. Nothing needs to be fixed, which means that's not pain. Not the same signal.
No.
But because we call it pain, now we have to look in here to fix the problem. We think the problem's in here. That's not what it is.
No.
Those emotions are telling you the problem out there in the world you're out there you're trying to solve. Right? So each one of those negative emotions is just your mind asking you for help. Say, I got this kind of problem out there. I need you to help me solve it. So when you're avoiding all these negative emotions, your mind can't give you this data. Can't tell you, hey, I need help with these things, which means your life gets a lot smaller because there's all these areas of your life you can't go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, as you're talking about it, I'm thinking it sounds like it's like people burying their head in the sand kind of thing internally in their minds, in their own minds.
That's exactly right.
But
That's exactly
also,
right.
they're denying them the chance for self growth. Let that negative feeling come out so that you can learn from it, so that you can get feedback off that negative feeling and guide you the way to actually do whatever. But having said that, to make it even further of not the confusion, but the contradictory of the self-help industry, and we're talking about neuroscience here as well, because that's what I studied to be a resilience coach as a specific area, as well as life coaching. I mean, you're also talking about how feeling good can actually be a trap. When actually everybody wants to feel good. You win something, and the dopamine's flowing, the dopamine's flowing. That's a natural feeling, like you say about the adrenaline and things like that, fight and flight. That's a natural hormone, isn't it? Tell us what you mean about that, about it can be a trap then.
Sure. Well, so part of what I kind of want to emphasize is that all these physiological responses, the dopamine getting released and so forth and so on, is because there's a part of your mind that attributes meaning to things. So it's not like, oh, you do this thing and it's automatic release of dopamine. It's like, no, it's being released. Dopamine's being released because your mind says this is a reward. This is a good thing. Right. So it's not just an automatic piece. It's like, I just win the thing. Great. How do you know you won? There's a part of your mind that says, yes, I actually scored the goal and so forth and so on. Now I should release that. Right.
So could you have a could you have a placebo? Could you have a placebo effect of releasing dopamine, meaning you kind of like, well, it does happen actually, where people think they've won something and they get disappointed. Oh no, it's not like, for example, in sports. Oh, you got a goal. Actually, no, it's disallowed. And then that dopamine goes back down again. It's like another. So it's kind of like that, isn't it? Really, you produce that yourself from your own thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the reason why pleasure and feeling good can be a trap is you can do the right thing for the right reason or the right thing for the wrong reason. If you're doing the right thing for the wrong reason, you're going to do it the wrong way. Okay. So what a lot of people get trapped in, there's something I talk about in the book I call the treadmill. Okay. Where a lot of high achievers, they've got this like intolerable situation they grew up in, right? Whether they grew up poor, bad environment, whatever that happens to be. And then at some point, usually around their teens, they have some kind of talent where that allows them to escape that situation, right? Whether that's athletics or academics or whatever it happens to be. It's like, I got this thing and it's going to get me out of the situation, right? I see this all the time in the military. It's like, okay, get the heck out of the town, right? Stuff like that. Or the athletes that's driven by the poor neighborhood or whatever that happens to be, right?
Yeah.
So they've got this push of trying to avoid that pain, but they've also got this constant reward from this one skill that they have. So you get stuck in this loop where it's like, okay, I've got to chase this carrot, or you get the stick, right? And the problem is if you're always on this treadmill and you always have to keep chasing goals, right? Where it's like, okay, I got the goal. Great. Now I don't feel as good anymore. Now I got to go chase another goal. Great. I don't feel as good. It's this constant thing where you're chasing this pleasure, chasing these rewards as a way to reinforce running away from that pain. If you don't have the choice, if you don't have the free will to say, okay, I don't have to chase that. Like I can step off that treadmill. I don't have to go for the next goal. I don't have to do that sort of thing. I don't have to chase bigger numbers in my bank account. If you have the choice to hop off of that, then that's your mind manipulating you down that road. If you don't have the chance to take your foot off the gas, then your mind is manipulating you with the pleasure, just like it can with the pain.
I'm with you now. Yeah. So Yeah, it's kind of like getting off that treadmill. It's not that it's anything wrong with achieving a goal. Of course, every team wants to keep winning every weekend, but you can't. As an ex-athlete,
Exactly.
you'd want to win every race, but you can't, So that is a treadmill if you think, and it's best to have that disappointment sometimes and deal with it, really. Same with making money. Some people lose a hell of a lot of money. I mean, I on the sideline, I do some trading and stuff like that. You can lose a heck of a lot of money, even all your money. Yeah, it's like gambling. It's like gambling, but different kind of chemicals involved, because gambling is kind of they link it to addiction, but it is that kind of what you're talking about, really. That treadmill. It's a treadmill that you get involved with, where you want to win, and
like
then
if you're trying.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a situation where it's like, okay, I'm making money. Okay, I got my 10 million, but I'm now looking at everybody making 50. It's like, okay, yeah, I get here. Okay, now everybody making 100.
That's what happens with gambling. Yeah.
Exactly. If you can't stop, then that's your mind manipulating with pleasure, just like you can pain.
Yeah, and the pain is you'll blow everything in the end one day. So, but I heard you mention just now about military. So I just wanted to find out a little bit more about yourself and your journey. And obviously, it sounds similar in terms of, obviously, with your autism, my dyslexia. I was in the fire service. That's my background, really. To be honest, was you in the military or? I mean,
I was. I did 5 years in the Marine Corps. I was I was a Russian linguist there. I also worked 6 years in the Air National Guard doing intelligence for Predators and U-2s and F-16, F-22 Raptors.
Wow.
And then I also worked 16 years doing counterterrorism and counterproliferation.
Wow.
So I came from a very different pathway.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, with firefighting, you do some coaching and mentoring and stuff like that. And as I said, with my background in sports that I did from a young age of 10, 12 years old, I've always been around coaching, and you look at mindset, and that unwittingly, you're your own guinea pig almost, so that's why I get what you're saying, sometimes with a lot of what you're talking about, really.
100%.
So it does sound like obviously a different background in terms of occupations, but similar kind of journeys and similar kind of we found out something about ourselves that answered a lot of questions, and then I wrote a self-help book, really, and then you've kind of written about self-help book. So that's why I wanted to ask a bit more about it. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah. Well,
you're gone.
Yeah, it's a situation where, like, in order to navigate the world, right? Because when I was growing up, I had no idea what was wrong with me. Nobody else had any idea what was wrong with me. Nobody could help me fix it. So I'm like, all right, I got to figure out how to navigate the world on my own. So I essentially turned my brain into a machine that reverse engineers human behavior. Right? If there's a pattern of behavior over time, then there's a deliberate process that creates it. Has to be. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a pattern. So I knew, it's like, okay, well, if this is the case, then all I got to do is watch enough stuff coming in, stuff coming out, then I can figure out what's happening in between. So that's essentially how I trained myself and trained my brain to just like navigate the world. And I did like 23 years of intelligence, kind of weaponized that thing, which is basically it's what you do in the intelligence world. It's like, okay, stuff is happening out there. Got to ask the right questions, got to put the pieces of the puzzle together to figure out how to break it, right? And that's also how I did all the reverse engineering of all the underlying implicit assumptions behind all these different modalities I was using to sort of fix myself, like the psychology and the spiritual stuff and the energetics and all that other stuff.
Because that is a lot of psychology. There's a lot of psychology in the kind of work you was doing anyway, isn't there, really? Counterterrorism especially. And I suppose you got to interview people and things like that. So, I mean, all that's got to... That's quite interesting.
There's a lot of interesting stuff I got to play for sure. Yeah, absolutely. But that kind of like gave me the tool set that I needed, because every like modality, like psychology, cognitive behavioral therapy, hypnosis, even psychedelics, all that kind of stuff have limitations. There's an underlying model that kind of defines how far you can go with that. And in order to really make life living for myself, in order to make it so I could actually get what I needed to find the finish line and get across it. Right? I could not spend the rest of my life trying to fix myself. I could not spend the rest of my life kind of in this halfway space. It's like, no, there has to be a finish line. I got to find a way to get across it.
Yeah.
And so that's essentially how I built my mind to figure out where that was. And that's inner peace. When they get to that place where you don't have to fix yourself anymore, there's nothing to heal. You're good enough as you are. You don't have to prove anything to anybody.
No, you don't have to.
Because at that point, you're free.
Yeah.
At that point, you're free, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, isn't it, really? Well, what was your feeling like when you found out about your diagnosis? I mean, I was thinking, flooding back to my memories of at first, wow, even at school and everything, it's like, what the heck? And then it was like a relief, actually, for me, to be honest, because I actually achieved what I wanted to, really, but I could have done without some of the crap that came with it, if you see what I mean. You know what I'm talking about, yeah?
Absolutely. Oh, man. Oh, man, I would have, like, I used to tell a friend of mine, like, I would have sold my soul to Satan 1,000 times over just to be normal. My
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
It was like, I so would have. But like I found out early last year I had ADHD, kind of knew that one.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then in
yeah.
the summer I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder and autism at the same time.
You're right.
And
Okay.
it's like, oh, everything makes sense now. It's like I used to have, there's that old Billy Joel song, I don't know why I go to extremes. Too high.
I can't remember that one, but I mean, I know Billy Joel
that
about
makes sense now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's like that explains that, and it's like the autism was like, okay, everything makes sense now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's kind of one of those moments where it's like, oh, I kind of had to step back. It's like, wait a second, I have to now take a look at everything that's happened in my life up until now through these lenses and say, okay, oh, this was just me being bipolar. This is me compensating for this. This is why this thing blew up in my face. This is why I couldn't do office politics. This is how I was compensating with all these things.
Right,
like,
right.
Oh man, like, okay, all right, I got to step back from all that and figure out, okay, what actually is really me? How much this was just like me compensating for all this other stuff. And it's like, okay, now I need to like take a step back. It's like, okay, what do I actually want to keep from all these years of stuff?
Yeah.
Because a lot of stuff was just like me kind of just like managing these conditions I had no idea about. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was very
And
much
you did a
a
good
position
job
where
of
I
it,
had to spend a
obviously.
couple months just like looking at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's been a process. It's been a process for sure. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, how is life now for you? I mean, obviously, I can't say it's a silly question, really, for me to ask you because you've got a book out. You're actually doing great.
Well,
with
it's actually, well, I wish I was doing better than it kind of sounds, because I found out that I had bipolar disorder. I had a pretty severe episode and actually ended up having a psychotic break. So it was really bad. And when you've had an episode that's severe, there's a really high chance this could happen again. So you kind of like can't go without medication.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, with that sort of stuff, it's just a process of trial and error. So it took me 14 months to get onto a set of medications that actually worked for me, didn't mess me up, and allowed me to actually do my work. So
yeah.
I was basically on sabbatical. There was a lot of times when I couldn't work. One medication had me ending, one in my life for like 2.5 weeks straight. That was not fun. So it's just been this like massive roller coaster for over a year. And I've only been able to really get back to normal and like actually start working again about 2 months ago. So I'm now having like rebuild my business from scratch in a lot of ways, because I had to, couldn't really work for over a year. I was able to do the book with a ghostwriter, was able to do that and get that out the door. And that just finally got published last month. But it's been a situation where it's like I took a big hit. Like I lost like 75% of my revenue.
Oh, wow. Oh, what, to write this book, win a piece?
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I did that while I was trying to do, while I was trying to get myself stable. I was working as a ghostwriter. So
yeah. Oh, right.
Autistic.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's like trying to get that in a format that people can understand. It's like,
of course.
My head against the wall for myself. Like, no, you do it.
Yeah. No,
it makes sense.
I had to get someone to co-author my book. She ghostwritten it for me, but I kind of gave my concepts and tried to get it out of my head too.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I like dumped 10 hours with the audio on it. I was like, here, just make this make sense. And so we worked together on that for about 3 months and stuff. But while I'm doing that, I can't really run my business. I'm an entrepreneur, self-employed. My livelihood is based on that. And it's like, okay, I can't really do that for like over a year. So only in the past 2 months have I gotten to the point where I can actually do that again. But it kind of speaks to the resilience that the book creates, because it's okay for me to go through this process. It was okay for me to take that hit financially and business-wise, because my identity, my worth wasn't dependent upon that. Right.
Yeah.
I could sit there and just go through this process as much as long as I needed to, all the ups and downs. It's like, okay, this is just a thing that I'm going through. This is just a process I'm working. I just need to spend the time. I will find the solution. And once I do, I'll be back on the right track.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, obviously, we could go on forever talking and swapping notes about what kind of like with the epiphany and everything else. And, obviously, I've kind of created a path as well from retired firefighter onwards, and you've done the same thing. And, looking back, I actually enjoyed my life with what I did, really. So, it wasn't fantastic. I mean, I'm not a household name with the sports, and I wasn't a fire chief, like you wasn't a general, but you did what you needed to do, and you can look back and say, I'm actually quite proud of it, and me too, so it's just one of those things. And you're now proud of having a book out there and doing the work that you're doing to help people. And hopefully I'm doing the same thing as well. But for you, obviously, we're here to talk about your book. What advice can you offer to keep people from looking for a quick fix?
Well, I don't actually think that looking for a quick fix is a bad thing if you're using it to create space to do something longer, right? If somebody's in some serious pain, like if you break your leg or like you tear your ACL, right? Take the freaking painkillers to get through the surgery. It's like, this is just like, okay, Once you understand that there is a problem, and once you're looking in the right place, by all means, go ahead and do what you need to calm things down and give yourself some space. But don't do it as a way to just like manage the pain long term.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking for those quick fixes just to make things go away, they won't. It's always going to come back. You're always going to be dealing with it. It's always going to show up in a different way. So rather than playing whack-a-mole for the rest of your life, sitting here trying to cope with it over and over and over again, spending hours every day trying to like meditate and cold plunge and that whole 9 yards, just figure out what the base problem is. Because as soon as you do that and you fix it once and for all, you don't have to do any of that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So it's a question of like, okay, do you just want to be sitting here on the treadmill playing whack-a-mole for the rest of your life, or do you actually want to be done with it?
Yeah. So getting to the root cause of it and addressing that, basically. Yeah. Excellent. Well,
100%,
yeah, that's fantastic. Well, before we go, obviously our listeners would like to know more about you and also your book and where to find it. Could you tell them that?
Certainly. Well, my book is called Winter Peace, How to End Inner Conflict, Make Success Inevitable. It's available on Amazon and all the different formats to include Audible. My website is www.ryanthehypnotist.com. I do very deep, intensive, one-on-one work. My goal is essentially to get my clients to a place where their core belief set at the deepest level of their mind is that there's nothing wrong with them and there never was. There's nothing to heal and there never was. They're good enough as they are to deserve whatever they choose. Don't have to prove it to anybody, not even themselves. And I'm usually able to get people to that set within about 3 or 4 weeks. I try to do it in less than 30 days.
Yeah. Well, it's absolutely fantastic having you on the show. I really do. I learn a lot from guests like yourself, and it's really great to share and have a similarity of, something we can, do good out there. So
Absolutely.
Once again, great pleasure, and thanks a lot for coming and sharing your work and your book on my show today with my audience.
Well, thank you so much, Dave. Really appreciate you having me.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts. Or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.